Hello, Africa. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Baobab Transformational Webinar Series with your favorite host, Priscilla Okoko. Our speaker today is the head of Biz Expansion and Strategy with over 15 years experience in the financial sector, spanning from relationship management, project management, banking operations, product development, strategic management. He also has 4 years experience in the public sector. He has an MSc in Finance and a PhD in Management from Walden University, United States of America. Our speaker is a passionate lifelong learning advocate with several certificates. He's an editor, an author, and a trainer who is passionate about educational and continuous learning. He is none other than Dr. Samuel Ayokumogbe.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Doctor.
Thank you.
Okay, you'll be speaking to us today on fundamental skills for the next decade, while touching areas on how learning technologies are creating future skills, how to visualize future roles, skills and insights in your organization, and how to investigate and test new ways of learning to upskill and reskill employees. Over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you so much, Priscilla, as the host. And I use this medium to welcome everyone that has logged in, and we're expecting more people to log in while we start. My name is Dr. Sam, short form. I have a very long surname. Don't worry about that for now. So the topic we have here is fundamental skills for the next decade. Then you ask yourself, what is the next decade? Why is this trend very important? It also looks prophetic, maybe if you want to use that word, but I can easily tell you that the next decade is going to be like the past decades, especially with some trends that have happened in the health sector, COVID-19. So what are you supposed to know? This next decade, we'll be exploring this together in the next 30 to 35 minutes. It's a very short webinar, but it's going to be revealing, it's going to be exploring, and I promise you that we are going to make it very interactive, sort of make you understand it. So when I get to the slide, I'll call the slide number and the title or the topic we have on the slide. Thank you so much. I have my coffee here, so you can also make your coffee while you listen. So, slide 2. Here, talk about the agenda, explore how learning technologies are creating future skills. Visualize future roles, skills, and insights in your organization. Investigate and test new ways of learning to upskill and reskill employees. Look three topics, but it's one, and I'm going to take it like a flow. Here I mentioned what I experienced or I observed when I was still in the commercial bank then, where a general manager, a GM who retired from the bank, only to set up a barbering salon. It looks, okay, maybe it's an investment or it's a business, but a GM setting up a barbering salon, is that normal? What happened to the years of experience while he was in the banking sector? What happened to the department where he sat? So it's possible while he was growing the bank, he wasn't growing himself. And at the end of the day, the only thing that will come into his cluster of investments was just barbering salon. For me, it's something we should look at deeply. What could be wrong? That's the question. Now, the future. In terms of technology, we start hearing things like artificial intelligence, AI. Some has made it to be like a fusion, you know. But AI, what's AI talking about here? We have the machine learning, the machine language, and the robotics. The future of AI is very simple. A lot of people think that the AI is going to take over jobs. Yes, it's true. But there are things the AI can do, and there are things the AI cannot do. AI is not science fiction. AI is artificial intelligence, like the ATM is an artificial intelligence. So that is an example all of us can associate with. So then the robot is going to come in a way that there's also laws and rules that will be written, because ethics, for instance, what if the robot is not charged? What if the robot is locked in the room and they're going to give them names, probably a feminine name or a masculine name. They just say, where's James? You think they're talking about human being. Where's a female name now? Maybe Priscilla. They will think they are calling a female. No, they're calling the robot, who in a hotel setting will deliver what the customer requests for using the lift, elevator. They can't use staircase because it's a robot, it's not human being. You use lift. What if the lift is down? At that moment, there won't be lift service at that time. So that is what the AI can do for now. And what I have come up with to say, what can the AI do? It can learn from experience, or of course, that's machine learning. Adjust to new input and perform human tasks. Of course, it can do that. Understand emotions. Like in a customer service setting, if you speak with your customer and the customer is angry, the tone is rising, the system is going to alert the customer service officer to say, relax, don't respond the way this customer is responding. Why? Because it's understanding the emotion of the client. So that is a welcome development for the AI, helping the human being to achieve their goal. Then it can play games. It can also serve as customer service in the hotel and other places, like I mentioned earlier. But there are certain things that the AI cannot do, the robots cannot do. It cannot create from the scratch like human being. It cannot negotiate. It cannot solve complex problems or take complex decisions. It cannot have a free will, and of course, it cannot do invention. It cannot do most things that human beings are doing. So what do you need to do? If you were thinking of living yourself as a guard, as a cook, you need to upskill. You need to step up to decision making, to innovation, to system thinking, because the AI might be able to do linear reasoning, but not system thinking. So that is an area we're going into. Now, in a broader perspective, come up with things to do after research, interview, and to come up with this to say, okay, these are some of the areas that are very pertinent that people need to be grounded in the next decades. Creativity and innovation, service orientation, cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility is the ability for you to have multiple ways you look at things, not just you look at when something happens, what is going to be the aftermath of that thing that has happened. Not just linear, but cognitive flexibility, and be flexible. Then negotiation skills, then judgment, decision making, people's management, the AI again, which I mentioned earlier, critical thinking. Now, we have what we call the higher order critical thinking and reasoning skill, developed by Bloom's taxonomy. We have the 6 about, you have the knowledge, you have the comprehension, you have the application, you have the analysis, you have the synthesis, and you have the evaluation. Now, I'm not trying to be academics here. What Bloom's was talking about is, if you are making a report in an organization, when you use things like knowledge, when you use things like comprehension, when you use things like application, is a lower cadre of critical thinking. But when you do the analysis, synthesis, evaluation, when you talk about synthesis, instead of saying this process is defined, no, that is lower critical thinking. But when you say this process can be evaluated, this process can be appraised, this process can be inferred to, then you are doing higher. So you can just Google Bloom's taxonomy. It gives the 6th order of critical reasoning. The first 3, they are the lower, while the last 3, they are the higher, the higher order critical. Then complex problem solving, people's management, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, ability to know your emotion vis-a-vis people you're working with, emotions. And of course, where I want to really explore, given the time we have here, the Baobab time, creativity and innovation. That is the area that is so passionate, that is so timely, that all of us need to quickly develop, assess skill, set up a department for it if you don't have one, so you can run with the time. Now, you see my presentation, I'm not really talking about COVID-19 because that is what has happened. That is not what has not happened. That is what has happened. So what happened is what happened. How you handle what happened is what matters. So that's why I'm focusing on how you handle the time. Like I said, the next decade is going to be like the last decade. So don't be deceived like the next decade is going to be like, no, it's the same thing. There will be a famine, there will be a surplus. So how are you prepared is what really matters. So I go to the next slide, which is creativity and innovation. And permit me to sip my coffee. Thank you. Now, most times we go for lectures, especially high-tech lectures. They'll bring the puzzle. They'll tell you there is a 9 dots. They will use to bamboozle or use to intimidate, permit my words, or use to just cajole the participants to say, use 9 dots with 4 straight lines to join these 9 dots without lifting the pen. You know, everybody will be bringing 4, 5, 6, you know, then the facilitator will come and say, you know what, he will just do it the way it is, the answer here. The question is here, the puzzle is here, the answer is here. Now, you get it like something like umbrella, something like the bow and arrow stuff. Now, and the idea at the end of the day, the facilitator will tell you, you have to think outside the box. You have to think outside the box. Now, after that, they just see it. Most times they use the ice-breaking section. They don't explain to us how to think outside the box. But just say, you have to think outside the box. No, nobody asks at the end of the day, how do I think outside the box? So from my investigation and some research and some readings and some courses I have done in the past years, I just realized that there's nothing like that really. Let's go there. The next slide. Creativity and innovation. What you're seeing here is like a battlefield between the Indian army and the Mongolian army. The Mongolian army were advantaged, while the Indian army were disadvantaged. Why? Because they have 5 foot soldiers. They had 10 camel with riders. Then they had 10 elephants. What's the strategy? The strategy was these 10 elephants, once they say go, they run into the 5 Indians army and crush them. At the time they are down, these foot soldiers just come and finish the war. That was the strategy. Don't forget it's a battle. The strategy doesn't lie with one person. That's why we have competition. The Indian army also had their own strategy. Now, if they have to think outside the box, what will they do? They'll call in the Air Force and say, come and bomb these people for us. Or what will they do? They will retrieve from this war or from this battle. But is there an option? Remember the story or a story? Yes, a story. We talk about burning the ship. We talk about an army that went for a battle. When they got there, the captain realized that the enemies outnumbered them. What they did was to burn the ship. As soon as they burned the ship, there was no option of going back. This is no retreat, no surrender, as in you must fight to the end. That gave them motivation and they defeated their enemy. It has nothing to do with numbers that time around, because they had the right strategy. So the Indians don't even talk about thinking outside the box in that case, because they don't even have the option to call in an air force to bomb their enemy. They don't have that resources in there. It's just a wishful resources. It's not available. What is available for them is them and their 5 plus additional camel that they had around. What they did was amazing. They set fire on 3 of them. Now, when an animal sees fire, he will retrieve, he will run back. Now, they were thinking ahead, and the Mongolian army never knew there was a change in strategy, and that's where we're going in this webinar. As soon as they set fire on the 3, and the 3 now approach the elephant. Upon elephant seeing the fire, immediately turned round, because the camel and the army and the footmen didn't know the new thing has changed. Those elephants ran into them, and these 5 Indian army defeated and killed all this other army that outnumbered them initially. Why? What was their strategy? And Glasson, Malcolm wrote a book, David and Goliath. We all know that story. When David approached the elephant, which in this maybe the Goliath, by default he had a catapult. By default he had nothing outside the catapult. Now the option of David was to go back home to bring bow and arrow, to bring gun, to kill Goliath. At that time, Goliath would have gone home. There won't be battle, there won't be nothing. But he did not go home. What did he do? He used his catapult, because that was what he had. So why are they saying, why is it similar? Why is the Indian story similar to what the story that David used against his Goliath? Why is it similar to what these guys use against the elephant? I will tell you that. In the real sense, there is no box. From today, start telling everybody there is no box. There is actually no box. This cannot be overemphasized anyway, but there's no box. What do we have? We have a closed world. What do we have? You look for the elephant. Where is the elephant? The elephant is right in your nose. So, if you could take this from me and ask you this question, what is the problem? The elephant. What is the solution? Is in the elephant. Where is the elephant? The elephant is right in your nose. You can write it down. You have that. You are 60% ready for the next decade. What you need to do is just to be looking for the elephant. You don't have a problem. Which is the problem? Now we have COVID-19 as an elephant. Then you look for the elephant in COVID-19 and get your stuff solved. It's simple. You don't need to do any other thing. You look for the same problem element. There is the solution. I have grounded theories to back this up. This is not a wishful or a dream or no. So what is behind all these things is what we call the innovative templates, systematic invention thinking that has what we call the subtraction templates, the division templates, the multiplication templates, and the unification template. What an irony it would be that things that are solutions to you, to the world, were actually taught back in the kindergarten, primary school, where you did division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, and yet you don't even know. Now, the subtraction templates to create ideas, to be innovative, is what you see the small boy, maybe at the age of 2 or 3, he has this side wheels at the side of the bicycle. So, what what did the inventors need to do to have the other one at the time the guy is maybe 6 years, 7 years, when the motivation is no longer there to have a support. They now want to be independent. What they did is to subtract the two tires from the existing product. Is it still a product? Of course. Do we still have the old product? Of course. Do we have children under 2 years? It's fantastic. Do we have children of 9 years old? Do we have product for the two? What do we use? Subtraction. You subtract the weight, you get another product. Simple. What about services? The company that was a mortgage company subtracted 2 to 3 years from the mortgage payments. For who? For newly married couples. For 2 years, you just married, you bring evidence of marriage, you don't pay mortgage. Now, what is the dynamics? What is the arithmetic? A pessimist would think that will cause your losses. No, it's not true. What's the percentage of people getting married? It's not really much, but it means the accumulation of couples become your customers. You just go and sleep. It's simple. What did they use? Subtraction by service. These are simple things. Now, division. We have the fridge that used to be in 2 compartments. You have the freezer, you have the fridge. What did they do later? They just divided the fridge. Now, you see the freezer on top. It's serving both the fridge, the freeze, and the freezer and the freeze. Everything is cooling better than when the up will be cooling, the top will be spoiling your food. No, they decided to think using division. It's simple. The same way we are saying it now. I go to the next slide. Now, for companies that give out like loans, you say company, you are processing loan. Maybe they'll tell you for 3 months the loan is not. But what are they doing? Are they creating another world? What is a loan? In Baobab, 48 hours, you get your loan. There's another product called Taka, which was developed using this approach of division. By the time you have consecutive payments and you are not defaulting, you just get alert. You get another loan. Why? Because your records are clean. So why should we go and be checking your guarantor again when you already have a good track record? So you can use this to create several products and just have the quantum of customers rushing in and rushing out. That is why in Baobab you can have your loan delivered to you under 48, 72 hours. You have it because we have removed all those things like legal. We do them, but division. I will not tell you the secret. Visit Baobab, you will understand what I'm talking about. But it's not a secret. It's just it's a method. It's a methodology. Departments handle all these things. Now I talk about the multiplication approach or tool or pattern. Now, the multiplication was used by most of these textbooks. You know, we have like in Nigeria, we have Gosigo. Everybody will know Gosigo for common entrance, Laswell for GS3. Most of these, you go and buy it, they'll give you the practical aspects. They'll give you the question and answer. What have they done? They've divided the book into 2. One is question and answer, one is practical. But do you pay the same sum? No, they will increase it. But is it solving problem? Of course. That was it. What of multiplication from services? Take for instance, I have a car wash today. And my service is to wash the exterior, wash the interior, wash the rock. What if I can multiply my products to remove the scratch, the stains that the car suffered in the course of the week, especially in traffic in Lagos? By the time I wash your car, I also have a product to paint it. What will happen to my company, my car wash? Everybody will, you don't need to announce painting because I have just solved your problem by virtually doing multiplication. I don't just do wash, I paint, but not the typical traditional painting, but true innovation. Next slide, talking about unification. This is beautiful. Unification is innovating to an existing pattern. For instance, if you go to United Kingdom, especially United Kingdom, you see structures like this. If you look at it deeply, you see that this is not a girl. It's a structure, but they have advertised into it and make it beautiful arts. It's beautiful. You go to airports, you just traveling from maybe Lagos to Abuja. By the time you want to pick your luggage, you now see that your company logo is what is coming. You'll be so happy to see this. And this is what the casino did in the foreign country. So the casino style of number coming up, it doesn't really stop, but it's just the mindset is working on the people's mind, which is awesome, So which is unification approach. And the last one there, unification by product. This was not done for COVID-19, I'm sorry. But it looks like it has brought solution for COVID-19. Look at it. You see a lady opening a door. You know what? That same door brings out hand sanitizer. This is a hospital in the United States where, traditionally every nurse, every doctor is supposed to wash their hands by seconds, because of germs, because of bacteria. Now, it's now being used because now we even culture of washing hands. Now, with this unification, you don't need another hand sanitizer device. It's already there. What will happen? They might even come up to say, let's change all the doors. Because if there's no more COVID-19, we just stop the functioning for that period. But now, this should be the door. What happened to that company that says we just increase? Why? Because they know this tool to use. So this is the area companies need to invest in these decades. Research and development, innovation, to be able to create from the existing. Like I said, there is no box. What we have is a closed world. Your company is what you have. The products are what you already have. How do you make them to serve more people is what you need to do. Now, this is talk about upskilling, reskilling your staff. I talked about a GM who went in and started a barbering salon. What must have happened to that GM? When you leave school, you made a 2-1, you made a 2-2, you made a first class, and the company is growing, it's declaring profit. Like in Lagos, you see a lot of people will close from office and stay back, go to pub. Why? Maybe because of traffic. They get home, they are used. They do that for 4 years, they do that for 5 years. By the time there is a turbulence in the economy, they'll say, they have asked people to resign. Then you resign into nothing, into vacuum. Everything you have, you've given it to the company without investing into your learning. There is no developmental agenda for you. You're just waiting to go to one campus that does not exist again as we speak. What happened to the online studies? What happened to reading those books? What happened to enrolling for courses? I'm not bragging. I had my PhD in 2016. Since then, I've done a course with Harvard, Sustainable Business Strategy. I've done a course with MIT, Artificial Intelligence, its implication to business strategy. And I'm currently doing a course with Emeritus. I've done a course with Frankfurt and in microfinance bank. If your boss called you at work and say there's a skill set that you're not aware, and you don't know, maybe Excel, maybe PowerPoint, that is the next course you should do. Coursera? Most courses in Coursera were free till maybe 2010. They were free. They were testing them. They were free. But because they were free, most people don't value free things. Or everybody don't value free things. But this is the time you need to upskill. You need to learn. I talked about how we'll get there. You need to learn to earn. You need to enroll for that course. What do you do with your weekends? That is the life we are entering, or we have already entered in this next decade. That is so virtual learning. The learning is more than even the certificates, because what you know is what you know. What you know is already with you. Okay, and that makes you a poor man or a rich man, and not just where you work or who you work with, but and you also help the company to grow. The people that work in the company makes up the brand. There's no brand anything like brand. No, it's the people that work in the company that are the brand. Okay? Now, conclusively, which is final, I quickly use that word because we like things like free, conclusively, so that at the end. What I'm saying, what I just put here like nuggets. He said, when you want to earn more, you learn. If you need happiness, read about happiness. Learn about happiness. It's not a rocket science, read it. If you need wealth, study wealth. If you need happy home, study happy home. If you need more money in the bank account, study more money in the bank account. Everything you study, it's simple. Take advantage of every event that presents itself for you, including COVID-19. Take advantage of it. People are selling the hand sanitizer, people are selling the mask. Do you think they are bringing it from China? No, people have started selling them. So be among them, start selling. But the pessimist will say, it will soon stop, it will soon stop, it will soon, I don't know, start selling them. Always be positive, there's no option. I saw something, somebody wrote, forward ever and backward. Don't even talk about backward. No, it's not an option. It's forward ever and forward ever. If you must say two things, it's forward ever, forward ever. If they ask you to say it again, forward ever. If they ask you, did you forget to say backward? It's not part of it. It's forward ever. Be patient, be calm. Don't rush into paradigms that were given to you without you knowing what they mean. Forward ever is a complete statement. It's not forward ever, backward never. It's forward ever. Stay there. If they ask you to defend it, shake your head. That you are correct. If it's an examination, tick it. You have full mark. Okay? Then present the ideas nobody knows. Present ideas nobody. In 1833, a young man that was working in a patent industry dropped a resignation letter and said, I'm not doing it again. I said, why? He said, everything I need to be manufactured has been manufactured. There is no work for me again. 1833. That was before the telephone that we're using now. That was before the webinar system that we're using now. So what happened to him? So now you might be thinking there are no ideas, we've not started ideas. We've not even started. This is the time, this decade is the time to bring new things into the world. I said, you cannot manage time. You can only manage yourself. It's 24 hours. We are giving 24 hours. Everybody is giving 24 hours. How much of that 24 hours do you use for developing yourself, developing your organization? Education is the art that teaches us to love what is beautiful. If you are truly educated, you attract beautiful things because you appreciate beauty. You are educated. So check it with that litmus. When you see you're not attracting what you really like, check your reshape your level of knowledge. Then I talk about as a man think. What I talk about as a man think. So is I broke it down so that we can understand it. As a man think, qualitatively are the friends that you attract to yourself. Now, quantitatively is your bank account and your investment balance. It's simple. Yeah, other people might come in to say, I didn't talk about social, I didn't talk about this, let's make it simple. Qualitatively, the friends you attract to yourself. Quantitatively, your bank account and your investment balance. That's how you think. Is mind-blowing. It's not what you want to hear, but that's the truth. Now, the last, he said, all life forms strive to its maximum, except for human beings. All life form. For instance, how tall will a tree grow? Have you ever asked yourself? To its maximum. How big will that cow go? To its maximum. Then what happened to man? Choice. That's it. Choice is the limitation. Choice is the limitation. So work on your choice, because all life forms strive to its maximum, except for human beings. So you should know that the only limitation is the choice that you make. So in this decade, this next decade, your choice must be alright. You must work towards maximizing yourself. Like I said in the other slide, where is the problem? Is in the elephant. Where is the solution? Is also in the elephant. Where is the elephant? The elephant is right within your nose. It's not far-fetched. So as you see the problem, look at it again. You see the solution. There is no box. I told you again, there is no box. And to re-emphasize it, we know the story or the parable of the sower. A particular sower went to sow, and the first seed fell on the ground. If you want to think outside the box, you go and make catapult to pursue the bed. You know what will happen to him? He will leave the field. That story would have been written because he's not in the field anymore. But what did he do? He remained in the field. And he went sowing. So he did the second time, he didn't pass. He did the third time, he didn't pass. He did the fourth time, and he passed. He had 30 results, he had 60 results, he had 100 results. Now, if anybody asks you, why did those ones that have 30 not be 60? And why those ones that have 60 be 100? Please don't enroll for that course. You know why? There's no answer. That's how we There's no answer. The answer is stay in the field. In the closed world, we have COVID-19. That's what we have. We don't have any other thing. We don't have not COVID-19. We have COVID-19. That's where we are. What are the products you develop in COVID-19? That is what makes you who you are. And that is not what, you can't take a break and wait for the world to survive before. There's nothing like the world has survived. Because you are living, you are listening to this webinar, you are already believe, what are you waiting for? You want us to reverse back to 2018? It's not possible. We are rather moving forward. So you move with the train. Otherwise, people will call you, he used to have money. That company address used to be there. That used to be there. No, you shouldn't be there. That used to. So finally, the Baobab will tell you, unleash your potentials. Unleash your potentials. Unleash that potentials. What are your potentials? Potentials to bring in new clients, the potential to serve the customers right, potential to make sure that customers are also progressing, the potential to make sure that the company where you're working is also being guided jealously. That's what we call the entity concept in law and business. The company is alive. Now, every day they see COVID-19 has killed this, has this. It's also killing companies. They are not reporting it. I will maybe call the NTCs and say, be reporting companies though that have contacted COVID-19 or that have died out of COVID. They don't report. They only report human being. The company is a human being that some have died. You know. So unleash your potentials and stay alive for your clients, for your staff, for your legacy. Thank you. I remain your humble self, Dr. Sam. Thank you so much. So, the questions. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you. The questions have been floating. But before then, what would you advise? Would you advise the schools to upgrade or change their curriculum? Considering the fact that what they are teaching today, I'm not sure will be relevant for the generation Alpha.
Yeah. Okay, that's a very good question. I should go ahead?
No, I just wanted to emphasize on generation Alpha.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead. Okay. Now, when you say the school should change, the first thing that will come to my mind is they should drop what they've been doing and they start a new one. No, I will not advise that. What I will advise rather is to go into some of these tools that I've talked about, like multiplication. For instance, when you say artificial intelligence, most schools don't even know it. Yesterday I was reading papers, they said ASU is asking government to wait till 2021 to to resume school. Who says that? Who said who that's wrong for me. Let me give you something. Plato, a philosopher, was making a statement and said, there is no absolute truth. He thought he has made a statement. Now, what he has said in retrospect is that statement he made is not an absolute truth. But René Descartes came in and said, for me to doubt everything, I think therefore I exist. And that's a better way to think. Pessimists will say, just say the school should not open. No. So coming back to your question, the school should look at what is missing. What is missing is glaring. Not being able to respond quickly to COVID-19, not being able to you still depend on the foreign world for most of the things we use. The school should begin to modify the curriculum to appreciate the current happenings and trends, to be able to fit into the future as well. There's nothing wrong with collaboration with all the other state countries that have gotten there. Before now, we used to hear that we have white men teaching in Nigeria. We used to later they traveled back. That was a better word. If you ask me on education, that's why most graduates that finish from a federal government college, as at that time, brilliant people, brilliant set of people. Another person was telling us the other day, even your Megans children are in private schools because there's no public school again. So that shouldn't be. They should modify. The government should not politicalize education. Education is life. What you don't know is what kills you. You need to know many things to live. So they should modify. Use the word modify the curriculum to be able to fit into the current trend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. You might believe that we lack a lot of employable youth. Universities are just churning out people that can add value to the organization. What fundamental skills do you think they should, have so that they are employable, they are attractive in the employment market?
Okay, brilliant. Now, the first question, the first issue here is the reason why most graduates are not employable or stuff is by what your father used as a curriculum, for instance, or a module when he was in university, is the same thing you are using or we are using. There's something wrong, there's something fundamentally wrong about that. So there should be, like I said, modification. Now, the set skills. Okay, for instance, let me give an instance. When I graduated from the university, that was the first time I knew there is something called GMAT. When I graduated from university, I saw something called GMAT. And GMAT was favorable for engineering students. There are not people that read business administration. So, how will I pass my banking test? That was on my own. It wasn't taught anywhere. In fact, they didn't even teach GMAT, not to talk of the topic in GMAT. So, and nobody taught me about GMAT when I was in the school throughout. Imagine that vacuum. So, the first thing that came to my mind when I approached GMAT was, I need to go back to school. Maybe not university, but maybe GMAT school. And study GMAT. Because it was made job. Another company, the one you fail, you will not know the question. When you go for another test, you fail it again because they will change the question. So how will you get a job when it's based on GMAT? Engineering students will pass the test, but when they go for interview, they don't also have the set skills to even do interviews. Some will just come with trousers and shirts, fly it, thinking they are still in the campus. They won't pass. So employment is the gap is widening. Soft skills are missing, hard skills are missing. So there should be the school act as if they are not operating in this world. If you go to a typical Nigerian school, you need transcript. It looks as if you are going to Babalawo to ask for questions. Sorry for my language. But that's true. All schools don't give transcript in Nigeria. But abroad, you need your transcript. Get it within 48 hours, even less than that. Why is that so? Why is that so? So the school needs to, like the Faculty of Engineering, for instance, they need to be able to train their students to be able to align with maybe refinery, real production, not administration, or going entrepreneur to start a business. How do you start a business? What are the nitty-gritty? What do you do with CAC? Tell them the things that happen, not history. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. So you will agree with me that 70% of the schools we have in Nigeria are not ready?
Yes, I agree with you, objectively.
Okay, let's go to the question. School Shop from Aja is asking, how can I balance my present rules with new innovation in AI and still be relevant in the banking sector?
Okay.
How does it balance its present rules with new innovation in AI and still be relevant in the banking sector?
Okay, brilliant. The first thing is he needs to invest his time in understanding what AI means and how AI fits into the current world. Because most times we say AI, everybody's thinking science fiction, these people are building something, they'll come and take over the job that I'm doing currently. But when you read about AI, you'll be able to see how it's going to fit into your current role. Then from there, you can now see what role maybe you want to develop your skill in IT, and you want to make a move to IT because you are passionate about technology. Then you start to approach your employer to say, these are the set skills I'm developing. I want to have a hands-on experience in this area. So those innovations, maybe on programming, on we have what we call SAP and SAT, on programming, general programming, you start writing those things so that you can, when they say algorithm, they say flowchart, it doesn't sound too strange from you. Everything is readable, everything is what to study, but when you are far from it, you never understand what the concepts. Everything has their rules, their pattern, their tools, their formulas. So my first thing is that you should take a course in that area. You will understand it better and now know the area he can fit in, especially career move. He can come into IT. He can come into digital transformation of the bank and contribute his quota there.
Okay, Doc, thank you. But I also don't feel that AI will take all the jobs. Like you mentioned earlier, there will still be things that we need to do, human beings need to do.
Of course.
I'm not, but he needs to take the new course, like you mentioned. Thank
you.
Okay, Nuruddin is asking, as part of learning, should I concentrate in just studying anything or stick to what is relevant to what I do?
Both.
Should I go over that?
Yeah, I think I heard it. For me, is both. It's both. Why do I say it? No, it should have now. The way I will answer it, and there's what we call incremental learning. Like you are always learning. So yeah, you stick to what you do, but you have the passion to know more. For instance, let me tell you, I will ask the same, maybe I'll answer him, but for instance, they say the law of poor and riches, for instance. Where will you get that book to read? You might not really get that book. Which course will you enroll to read that book? Meanwhile, the rich will save their money and spend what is remaining. The poor will spend their money and save what is remaining. Who taught them that philosophy? Who sold that philosophy to them? Now, the only way you can leave that circle is through learning. What do you learn? Learn everything. Not like you learn it like you are learning, but there are so many. What if you say every day I read 10 pages of a book? Now, what book are you going to read? All books. While you are developing yourself for yourself, those things you are developing yourself are helping you in your area that you are currently working. So for me, you don't restrict yourself to what you know. Who taught you how to be a good father if you're a father? Who taught you how to be a good mother if you're a mother? You read all these things and they are available in the system. People have talked about them. So get habits to read rather than maybe gisting, gossiping, things. You see, the poor watch the Premier League. The rich owns the Premier League. It's as bitter as that. That's the truth. So that is the answer for me.
Simple truth, yeah?
Yeah, simple truth.
Okay, Anonymous Tendy would like to know, are there set skills to enable one embark on AI, like background knowledge? Are there any set skills?
No. There's no set skills. At any time, any age, any time you can learn it. In 2015, there was an Indian man who, at the age of 90, enrolled for a 2-year master's. You know what I told my colleagues? I said this man must live in the next 2 years first before you know if he will die or not. He's 90 and the course is 2 years. So by virtue of living as a natural law, that man must clock for 92 because he has set his mind for that. So even if, irrespective of the course you read, you can start it.
Okay.
Yes.
Azuka wants to know if there are no